Howdy doody everybody. Just on another note again, another video about the Irish language on Gaeilge. I was at a barbecue there the other day. My neighbour is from the Czech Republic and his friends are from Eastern Europe as well. And there were some Brazilian people there, and I was the only Irish person, me and the two kids. And it was mad to see, like, the Brazilians are obviously speaking Portuguese amongst themselves, and the Eastern Europeans are speaking whatever language they were speaking together, and the common language then for us all to communicate was English, obviously, you know what I mean? And it was a good learning experience for the kids, because as I said in the previous video, my daughter Mia, she's always embarrassed when I speak Gaeilge with her outside, because it's viewed as a foreign language in certain terms. It's like if we're speaking Irish around Irish people, some people have the mentality or the opinion that they must be speaking about me, or why would they be speaking Irish, or you know. So said it to me, I said, look, they're speaking their language, but it's not rude, because if we're speaking together we speak English. So off I went speaking Gaeilge with her, and she kind of understood it a little bit then. But you know, I got a comment made on one of the last videos, and you know, it just kind of proved to me, or not proved, but it kind of highlighted to me, I suppose, that there's a little bit of a tension or a split amongst the Irish people. Like the comment was, well, at least you can speak Irish, you know what I mean, almost as if I was lucky to speak Irish. Or the only thing different about my upbringing and the other person's upbringing would be that my parents decided to put me in a Gael school. Now my parents didn't speak Irish, not like, they picked it up a little bit as I grew up, and the Uber Wally got a little bit harder, and they learned a bit more off us, and so it kind of suggested or highlighted to me that it's a them and us kind of opinion or mentality amongst certain people, and that's not the case. Like that's kind of going to prove what I was talking about, that the number of people has grown that can speak Irish, but the culture or the Irish language itself hasn't grown. Insofar as, like, there should really have been conscious campaigns from the governments over the years when you know, it was obvious that there was more and more Gael schooling popping up. There should have been a conscious effort by governments to bring the whole population along, moving forward. And again, I'm not suggesting that everybody speaks fluent Irish. Like, I mean, that's not going to happen, and if it were to happen, it wouldn't be for many years. But it's almost like people know certain words. They know slán, they know labba, they know lehrus. You know, everybody knows the phrase Anvil Cadigum Dulgadi and lehrus Mashe the Hulle. It always gets said to you when you say your kids are in an Irish school. That's the only Irish I know, is Anvil Cadigum Dulgadi and lehrus Mashe the Hulle. And it goes back as well to kind of further prove that the way Irish is taught in schools, it's taught just the same as a foreign language. None of us came out of the womb fluent in English. We were submerged in an environment where English is what we were hearing, and therefore that's the language we picked up and we learned. And we didn't come out of the womb learning grammar. That came later. You know, we learned how to sing ABCD, Twinkle Twinkle, all of that, count 1 to 10. And then comes the grammar when you go to school. So why it's not done with the Irish language within English speaking schools is beyond me. Now there could be an argument there to say, well, then just scrap it from English speaking schools, and if there's a rise in Gael schooling, well, then that's where the appetite for Irish speaking is. But that would be detrimental, I think, because it's not the fact that they're English speaking schools and therefore they don't speak Irish. It's the little bit of Irish that people learn, the mentality and the ideology around the growth of the language over the years should have been a conscious kind of effort by the governments to change and to unite, and to, you know, it's almost like people don't want to speak Irish. And I was speaking about this to the Eastern European men at the barbecue. They don't understand that mentality. They really don't. They don't understand that why would want to almost purposely abandon our culture after so long. And it appears that way, you know, amongst certain people in the population that don't speak Irish. Not everybody, mind you. A lot of people get to their 30s and 40s and then really wish they could speak Irish. They kind of they kind of, you know, start feeling like they're missing out on their culture, or they're listening to other people speaking their languages, and so that has failed. We've grown the number speaking Irish, but we haven't grown the appetite for it, or its place in Irish society. Is almost viewed as a foreign language amongst their own population. So that's a failure by the government. And how do we change that now? Because we're so far down the rabbit hole, like, of people learning Irish and not being able to speak it. And the lads from Eastern Europe, they actually thought that because the road signs were just as big in Irish as they are in English, that a lot of the population spoke Irish and stuff. But they were flabbergasted to know that you're almost treated with hostility when you start speaking a bit of Gaeilge. And the fact that and this is I just have to put it out there because it is relevant, but it's not overly relevant, if that makes sense. It wouldn't be a sticking point. But if Irish was a primary language in the country, like any other European country that speak their own language, and with English or a second language being the common language amongst people that can't speak the I suppose the Aboriginal languages, would we see such a big increase in immigration, and I'm trying to be careful here because I don't want it to come across really, I don't want it to come across kind of racist, because I'm not trying to be. What I'm getting at is, I would probably have a better chance of being able to say Guramahagut and Masha the Hulle and Ledahul, all of that in the shop, if Irish was a dominant language, or if it was like a strong language in the country. We have a lot of people moving here because, and you know, rightly so, if from their point of view, because English is the primary language and everybody learns English in school as a secondary language, so it's easy for a lot of people to come to this country and work, etc, etc. But to come and work without any obligation to learn a little bit of the language. Like, you could imagine going to Germany as an English speaker and getting some work in a shop and only speaking English. It wouldn't work. You'd be sacked. Like, you have to learn little bits of the language. You have to show some kind of respect to the culture. And again, that's not on the fault on the part of people coming here. That's on part of the governments over the years. We should have been trying to grow the language even with the non-Irish speakers, to prove that, you know, there's what would be the word, there's an appetite to get the Irish language back. And again, not that everybody should be fluent in it, but I mean the mentality that if you know these words you wouldn't use them. Why wouldn't you use them? Again, big shout out to the radio stations, because their Irish programming is very good. They mix the Irish and the English, and they use it both languages enough to keep both sides engaged throughout their shows. But why aren't we doing that anyway? Why is it only a Shock to na Gaeilge that we hear RTE coming out with Irish kind of broadcasting and, you know, voiceovers and stuff? It's beyond ridiculous. Like, it's almost like a purposeful abandonment of the language. All right, very good, just have so many people that can speak it, but you can't speak it anywhere. And so for kids coming out of school, they almost feel like it's a foreign language. My daughter feels almost rude to speak Irish in Ireland because other people can't understand her. That's you know, it's sad in a way, and I don't blame anybody who can't speak Irish. It's not your fault, or, you know, anybody who has the opinion that or anybody who doesn't use their Irish words, because the mentality and the opinion of Irish should have been changed by conscious efforts of governments over the years. And that's, like, without abandoning English. Like, that's the be all and end all. But shin. So I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't having a go at anybody who can't speak Irish, but rather questioning why you wouldn't want to speak Cúpla Focail Gaeilge if you had them. Even it is on Vicadicum W and Lehrers. You know, just say, have you got a Lehrers here? Or, you know, even down to saying Slán, or down to saying Moshe the Hulle, or look at that buchel over there, isn't he lovely? Look, well, isn't he got all? And like, everybody has these words, and they forget them as they grow up because they're not practiced. And then again, language is only learned submersively. we should be, you know, engaging our kids positively around the Irish language, and learning songs and watching cartoons, and you know, reading stories of Gaeilge, to kind of get them interested in it, rather than just, you know, bam, you're in school and you're learning grammar, you're learning sentences, you know, that's not the way to do it. And I don't think it's done that way in a lot of European countries when it comes to teaching English. They submerge them for a few hours in the day or the afternoon, and that's how it works. But I suppose you can say that about any language that we learn in schools. And here in Ireland, you can 40 minutes of a class in French, German, Spanish, whatever it is, it's, you know, it causes an awful disdain to towards the language, unless you're really good at languages. You know, a lot of people get confused, and especially if you're trying to do two of them at the same time, and English being the backwards one, where with the verbs and stuff, it can be very hard to grasp. And again, anybody who grows up bilingually with Irish and English has a better chance of learning other languages and respecting other cultures. If we don't respect our own culture, how can we respect another one, you know? So yeah, that's that. Shin Shin, Gurmagwif, Slán, agus Bannacht. If anybody has got an opinion about the Irish language, please get in touch. I'd love to, I'm not argumentatively, but I would love to hear different opinions by non-speakers and speakers, to see wherein lies the problem. Like, you know, we need to kind of close the gap and spark an interest of revolutionising the language and the culture. Shin Shin, Slán.